Hi everyone and welcome to another Heroes of the Grid Ranger team video. Today I'm going to be talking about the Light Darkness team as a whole when I used them in my last playthrough. The first thing I want to mention are the enemies that I faced in my playthrough. For foot soldiers I faced off against the Putty Patrollers and Rinchi, which also meant the Rinchi Beast came with them. And for the monsters I had Prince Gasket and Roxy, and for the boss it was Perfect Evox. Quite the interesting combination of enemies, but at first I had Void Knight, but I forgot that he was a nemesis, not a monster, and I wanted to face a monster, so I switched him out, and yeah, I mean, that's how I got Gasket, actually. I didn't feel like doing a Beast Morphers themed match, that's why I didn't just choose Blaze, because I already had Roxy and Perfect Evox. Otherwise, I'd already gotten all the Rangers and everybody else figured out, so I was like, yeah, I don't feel like doing a whole Ranger themed battle right now. Anyway, so those are the enemies that I faced. You can imagine how difficult that could be for those of you who have gone up against those villains before. But the Light and Darkness team, overall, I'd have to say that they did actually work out pretty well. As far as an MVP, I don't know if there was really one MVP in general who kind of stood out above the rest. They all played their parts. Even, I'd say, for most of the game, I'd say Heckle was kind of the weak link. Well, at least because the way I played him, I only kept one or two cards in my hand, and then I used him to take like the first attack, and then so that way I had something to play with for my discard pile if I needed to. But against the boss, I was able to use his Spinal Blade from his discard pile in the final round, and that really, really helped a lot because it would only cost 2 energy, and when you're fighting Evox, his whole thing is that he drains a lot of energy. That's the Beast Morpher villain. Their whole strategy when facing the Rangers is that they tend to drain a lot of energy, and this team actually does not generate very much, so being able to reduce the cost of any of your cards is a great benefit. Like Merrick came in handy. I didn't get to use his Lone Wolf ability too much, but I did get the chance to take advantage of it. It did help a lot because a lot of his cards were being played for either for free or for only one. Lianbo, his For Honor ability helped a lot with when Rangers were defending. I could use his star abilities that I had in my hand to the benefit of others. Taizan, his character ability, Mercurial Force, to gain critical hits was, super awesome during most of the fight. There's only one time I think I got like one really bad roll because I used that ability, but I mean it does happen. It's going to happen from time to time, so I can't blame Taizan for it. And Jared. Jared actually helped a lot with his character ability. I noticed that their character abilities really saved them in this game more so than their combat cards most of the time. But Jared just being able to discard a card for 2 attacks was hugely beneficial. Like I said, I didn't get his Black Lion Zord until he was the last sword that I obtained, so I only got to use him once in the game, unfortunately. I didn't get to obtain the Megazord, and actually, let me go over the Megazord that I decided to use, because Light and Darkness comes with 2 of them, but the one that I chose was the Flashpoint Megazord. It belongs to the Overdrive Rangers. Its ability says, exhaust this card at any time to place the Megazord token in any location. Each time a ranger in that location rolls at least 1 critical hit result, that ranger may return 1 card from the discard pile to the bottom of their deck. This is the second time I've used the Flashpoint Megazord, and I've chosen to use him in a game, and both times I don't think I got to draw him either time. So he does have a pretty good ability. He works very well with Taizan, obviously. If you roll a critical hit result, it doesn't matter how many critical hits you roll, you can only take advantage of it once per roll. But it's a great way to keep cards in your deck, so for someone like Heckle, if I had been able to make use of it, he could have, because his character ability forces you to discard the top card of your deck, I could have used Flashpoint to replenish his deck if I rolled, critical hits. I didn't get to, unfortunately, but it's still a really powerful Megazord. But going on to the team again. Well, okay, so fighting against Perfect Evox. Man, he is very powerful. I did not realize how powerful he actually was. Honestly, when I got the battle sequence ready, saw what cards I was going up against, I seriously considered just quitting right there because I thought to myself, there's no possible way I could beat this guy. based on what I was drawing. He was going to drain like all my energy within the first 2 resolves and deal tons of damage to all my rangers. He doesn't deal, I guess, a lot like really powerful attacks, but they apply to every ranger. So I mean, I think Evox is a little. I think he's a little too powerful. I think his attacks should deal like 1 less each. All of his attacks should deal 1 less damage than they actually do. But I mean, when I get to Evox, I'll actually start covering more villains. I'll get to him and explain like what he, because a lot of his attacks deal at least 3 damage to every ranger, or maybe if his attacks dealt damage to only maybe half the rangers, that might make him a little more, I think, fair. But of course, I mean, I say fair, but I ended up actually winning the game by the skin of my teeth. I don't know how I got through 2 battles against him, but I did, and I ended up winning. I do have to give a lot of credit to at least 2 of the arsenal cards that I used in the game. And those were the Quantum Mega Battle Armor and the SWAT Armor. So the Quantum Mega Battle Armor, its ability says use after you roll dice for an attack. You may convert 1 blank result to 1 regular hit result, or 1 regular hit result to a critical hit result. So it works really great with Taizan, because if you used his ability, you rolled a critical hit result. If you only rolled 1 critical hit result and no blanks, that becomes a blank result. But then you could use Quantum Mega Battle Armor to convert that blank result to a regular hit, so if nothing else, it becomes 1 hit as opposed to a blank. If you roll nothing but regular hits, Taizan's ability was kind of wasted, but you can still convert 1 of them to a critical hit result. So it's an extra damage regardless of what you roll. And the SWAT Armor, it says during this battle, the first time each ranger spends energy to play a card or use a character ability, they may first deal 1 damage to an enemy card of their choice. That helped a lot in the very first battle against Evox, because I was able to do some chip damage with all 5 of my characters at one point. But yeah, I owe the assault cards give them a lot of credit. No, the arsenal cards, not assault cards, the arsenal cards, I give them a lot of credit. But the characters, actually, they do have some good synergy together. Like I said, Merrick's good for fighting somebody like Evox who is constantly draining your energy. Since Merrick reduces the cost of his cards naturally through his character ability, he can kind of work around that. Heckle's Spinal Blade also reduces its own cost, but since he can play cards from his discard pile, he has that 1 card, I want to say Talon Slash, that gives him an energy. That's really good. I mean, this team also has ways of generating energy here and there. Shield of Light for a Lian Bow. I don't think I actually got to use that this game. I don't think I ever drew it, but still a really good energy provider. It's kind of weird to explain how they all kind of blend, how they all work together. They don't have any sort of like singular cohesive strategy, whereas like this, I know some Ranger teams like, oh, their whole thing is that they add dice to attacks. I mean, of course, those are actual Ranger teams that actually work together in the series. This is like 5 separate Rangers from 5 separate seasons, just kind of thrown together as one unit for this expansion. So naturally, their abilities aren't going to inherently flow well off of each other. You don't see this energy as easily as you do as if they were playing with their own Ranger team, but they do flow pretty good. Like I said, Jared's ability to just discard a card and perform an attack, that actually helped a lot against Evox, because you don't have to spend any energy for it. You can just discard the card, roll dice. I think I did use his Spirit of the Lion. In my Jared video, I think I said I did not get to use Spirit of the Lion, but now that I'm thinking about it, I actually did use it in, I think, the first Evox fight I did. So I was able to do extra damage here and there with him. Taizan's Mercury Strike helped a lot too. After I use his Mercurial Force, Mercury Strike helped kind of extend his ability further into the battle. Liambo, like I said, was kind of a support. Was definitely more of a supporter, using his character ability and then tanking at some attacks. Heckle's actually also a good tanker, because since I didn't have many cards in my hand, most of them were in my deck, so he could tank a few. But Heckle, with his Spinal Blade, he did a lot of damage. Like I mentioned in his video, he doesn't do a lot for most of the game, because all of his abilities are kind of based on his discard pile. You don't want to have too many cards in discard pile throughout the game, but when you're in the home stretch against the boss, and if you have some lives, some extra energy counters in the command center, you don't necessarily have to worry as much about wasting them. So you can go all in with his ability and use cards from your discard pile, willy-nilly, and he can do a lot of damage. So he helped a lot in the Evox fight. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of them. I didn't have any super awesome combo like I did with the Forever Rangers. Not any one singular combo. Yeah, I didn't get the Megazord again, but like I said, I mean, I did end up winning, barely, but I did, and I would not have won without the Assault cards. What assault? I keep saying assault. Those are Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Assault mode cards. Arsenal cards. I would not have won without the Arsenal cards. That's why I really recommend getting the Arsenal pack. If you just get the base game and the Arsenal pack, I think you should be pretty set for most games. They do tend to make the game a little easier for Rangers, but again, I didn't sweep the game. I barely won. I didn't get the Megazord, so it wasn't a huge handicap or anything like where it guaranteed me the victory or anything like that. Oh, Jared, his Claws of Fire. I did make use of that at least twice, maybe 3 times during my game. I took out one of the Rinchi Beasts once, and I took out I think I took out 2 of Evoxes at one of the battle sequences. I can't remember which one. I think it was the first battle sequence. I took out 2 of his cards with that, with both of my Claws of Fire. I'd say I guess Jared would be the MVP, if all barely edging out Merrick. And then I'd say probably either Taizan or Lianbo, because Lianbo was tanking and providing star defense, and Taizan he was actually dealing some decent damage. I used his drive detector in the game, and it helped a lot because I forget what I ended up adding to the hand with its ability, but actually I don't even think I used its ability. I think I just kept it at 5 dice, used the results of that to deal a ton of damage, and his character ability. So I got a lot of critical hits in there. So yeah, I'd say Taizan was probably at least number 3. Lianbo, and then finally Heckle. Not that he was bad, but since he didn't do a lot through most of the game, but when he did hit near the end, he hit really hard, so it did help me win. But yeah, that is the Light and Darkness team. I highly recommend getting this pack. It's really fun. Has a lot of interesting Rangers. Like I said, Jared, as far as I know, is completely unique in that he has no attack cards, just maneuvers and reactions. But he still does his character ability, and his maneuvers and reactions do allow him to perform attacks, even though they're not attack cards. But yeah, give the expansion a try. Again, also get the Arsenal pack. But anyway, until the next video, head on over to onceranger.com to check out the full card database, and affiliate links will be provided below. Thank you.